Hello, and welcome to the very first Vicissitude Project podcast. The reason this is called the Vicissitude Project is because vicissitude means a change or variation occurring in the course of something, and this podcast discusses the big change occurring in my life and many other high school students regarding their culture and personal identity. Today, I will be sharing my background on this topic in hopes to generate discussion and awareness of it in academic environments. I used to be embarrassed by my immigrant heritage. Mexicans and Mexican immigrants have been considered poor, dirty cooks with babies in our bellies as teens, spilling out of cramped houses and bad neighborhoods. But because of our lack of education and grasp of the English language, we didn't understand how to fix ourselves. Immigrants like my grandparents and my mom came to America for a better life, only to be forced into a life of preconceived notions. I saw America as a land of dreams if you work hard enough. Asterisk, small print. Unless you have an accent and different colored skin, then you're automatically unintelligible and uneducated. My family doesn't have it too bad because we are lighter skinned. However, if it is made known that we are Mexican and what our lifestyle is like, people tend to become sympathetic and that look of judgment and pity becomes evident in their eyes. Don't get me wrong, I love my culture. In all its glory, it is a family-oriented, food-based, colorful, all about respect, strong, hardworking, and my mom, who I hold in high regard. But what this country has done to me was make me feel dirty in my own skin, ashamed of my culture, attempting to erase a part of me because of how Americanized I became. I used to find pleasure in feeling Americanized, having people quite not able to peg where I'm from or what I am. But now I feel disconnected because I've refused my roots for so long. I am an American, but I'm not from America like the other kids. My family has struggled. I have worked multiple jobs before to pay my bills. I have seen shame from using EBT cards at the grocery stores. I had convinced myself I didn't need the things the other kids had, but the honest truth was we just couldn't afford them. I wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere, concretely, but after trying to blend in day after day on my mostly white high school campus, I would come back home to the little Mexico of San Jose, where even there I couldn't fit in because the Mexican families there have struggled differently than my family has. Growing up, I wanted to feel I had a place in the grand scheme of things, and the only way I felt that could come to fruition was for me to feel personally successful. My uncle is the epitome of success for me. He has worked hard his entire life, and although he is unable to attend college, he continued to persevere and is now a successful banker for a large company. He wears a suit to work and carries a briefcase on cross-country business trips. He and his wife own Mercedes and live in a 3-story house in a gated community on a hill. I aim to be successful like him on a personal and material level, but the difference between us is that he fully embraces his Mexican immigrant roots. He likes our culture. He has Mayan and Aztec statues around his house and is fluent in Spanish. The last time I went to San Jose to visit my mom, I sat down with my uncle to see what his opinion was on this whole being Mexican thing that I seemed to have a problem with. I asked him if he considered my acceptance into the private high school I attended as America taking me in as the Americanized token Mexican kid. He responded rather nicely, in a way that didn't make me feel like my intelligence was being discredited and my acceptance was purely based on being Mexican. He said, "Diversity is required in a lot of organizations in corporate America, and colleges and high schools are not excluded. This isn't a unique circumstance you are in, but it is not something that is by chance either. You were given an opportunity, and they picked you for your education, but then also it didn't hurt that you were Mexican. Schools are meant not to be just available to the wealthy and the 1%. You're like me. Our names don't sound ethnic, and when I went in for interviews, they would ask me, 'What are you?' in terms of ethnicity, and I would just tell them I'm a human being. That way they would hire me based off of merit, not my skin color. It's disappointing, but I would have never achieved what I've accomplished in corporate America if I wasn't fair-skinned without an accent. I still feel discrimination, and I network with Latin Americans in corporate America, but only 1% of a lot of employees are brown, and the rest are white." He says he has never denied his culture. Despite his early career, he felt he couldn't speak Spanish in the workplace without being discriminated against. But his work ethic and work product helped him receive recognition and promotions, which protected him from discrimination. I could tell my uncle's pride was slightly hurt when I told him that I wasn't as proud as he was as being Mexican. But he said that showing pride is not for selfish reasons. Rather, to educate those around us that we are Mexican, but we are successful and thriving. Our heritage and our culture should be a part of who we are without making us feel ashamed or dirty, despite the negative connotations being put upon us. The struggle I have been feeling with my identity is okay, but my uncle says I should turn it into fuel to become proud of who I am, comfortable in my own skin, and fill the gap in GPA or wages to show with my heritage I can still be successful and that Mexican Americans are not a socioeconomic burden, but a socioeconomic success. He says, I take pride in who I am, and America can't tell me how to feel. You are educated and born here, but you don't have to say you're just American. You can be Mexican American, but you are what you feel. You need to be truthful to yourself at all times, and that way no one can point to you and make you feel ashamed of who you are, which is necessary in order to grow as an individual and take chances and change. People in this country take for granted what is provided for them, and don't appreciate it because they rarely earned it, and then their children are privileged and feel privileged and act privileged. Every dollar I had was earned, never just given to me. Do not let socioeconomic burden weigh you down. Even if you're struggling or are poor, there is always room for ambition and hope, and not what society pegs you as. I really appreciate his point of view from my uncle, and especially that he didn't judge me for feeling the way I do about my culture. Being Mexican is not a black spot on my record, and it isn't simply a quality about me that defines my entire personality or being. I am a product of my culture, and I've overlooked all the little things that make me Mexican that I've clung to over the years because it's who I am. I say mocos because I was never taught the word boogers or snot until 2nd grade. I still shop at Food Max because it feels more comfortable to me, and I still enjoy listening to Daddy Yankee and cumbia music extra loud on a rainy day. I'm a product of my environment, but I am also a product of my mother, a Mexican immigrant. So, despite having misplaced shame about being a cultural hybrid of sorts, I understand that's just who I am, and I can either fall into the criticism and negative connotations, or take that as fuel to become the best Chicana I can be. Especially now with President Trump, Mexican immigrants are feeling scared, misplaced, and unwanted. Now is the time for me and other Chicanos like me to prove America's ignorance of Mexicans wrong and succeed on our own terms. As Lin-Manuel Miranda so eloquently puts in his hit Broadway show Hamilton, immigrants, we get the job done. And with that, that concludes this podcast. I hope I was able to articulate how I felt growing up as a misplaced Mexican-American teenager, hopefully to students who are struggling with their cultural identity, and so they can see it was a process of finding more about myself. Thank you for listening.